Hi, welcome to my channel. You hear me talking about selective mutism a lot, but have you ever wondered what families with children or adolescents or adults with selective mutism say? That's what I'm talking about today. Actually, it's not me, but it's a set of mums that have offered to talk to you about this topic. Keep tuned, because that's what we're talking about today.
Hi, my daughter is 6 years old, is bilingual, and has selective mutism.
My daughter is 5 years old and has selective mutism.
My daughter is 9 years old and has selective mutism.
I have my son who is 9 years old and he is selective mutism.
My daughter is 22 years old and has selective mutism.
I describe selective mutism as an anxiety disorder that provokes a fear of speech in certain situations. My daughter speaks happily with her family, her extended family, and a few friends. She's unable to speak at school or to answer direct questions from strangers.
My word for selective mutism is fear. She has a fear of speaking. She speaks to myself, her dad, grandparents, her aunt and uncle, her cousins, and a handful of her friends. My daughter finds it difficult to speak to adults and her teachers.
My word for selective mutism is fear. My daughter speaks to her parents, her three brothers, the children in her class, and the family on my side. My daughter finds it difficult to speak to her teacher and to all the family members on her daddy's side.
My word to selective mutism is fear of talking. He speaks to me, he speaks to his brother, his sister, his dad. Actually, he speaks to everybody, but at school he doesn't speak at all.
My word for selective mutism is a fear and anxiety about my daughter having her voice heard. My daughter speaks to myself, her dad, her brother and her two sisters. She doesn't speak to cousins, aunties, my friends, and didn't even speak to her grandparents.
People usually think that she's very shy. Sometimes they ask her if she's lost her tongue, or they may turn to me and ask whether or not she understands the language. I say that she understands and speaks perfectly well, but that today her words are having difficulty coming out, and maybe next time.
Some people have said, "Oh, you're the little girl who can't speak," or "Oh, I bet you're just shy." People think that she's shy or that she's choosing not to speak.
People think my daughter is shy, or maybe even rude. People say to my daughter, "Why don't you talk?" Or "Did a cat catch your tongue?"
People who doesn't know selective mutism or do not understand selective mutism, sometimes or often they ask him, "Why don't you speak? You're so shy, you're very shy."
People don't tend to comment on my daughter's selective mutism, but some people do think she's very quiet. When my daughter was diagnosed with selective mutism, it was quite a while ago, and hopefully we've moved on from them. But one experience we did have was staff at nursery told myself that I had a very rude little girl because she didn't talk.
My daughter feels anxious when people ask her direct questions.
My daughter feels anxious when someone speaks to her or asks a direct question. You can see how uncomfortable she feels, and it can be quite difficult to watch.
My son is always happy, but is scared to have his voice heard by anybody at school, and even his heart raised very fast.
In relation to my daughter's selective mutism, she can feel nervous, anxious, scared, frightened, even terrified about having to speak out loud.
If I could offer any advice, it would be don't put pressure on the child to speak. If they look uncomfortable, don't keep asking questions, but also don't exclude them either. Make sure they're included because you don't want them to feel isolated either.
Please do not ask my daughter to speak or to ask her direct questions.
I would like the people to know about selective mutism, and one piece of advice would be do not ask direct question looking to my son onto his eyes. Just keep asking, keep talking to him, although he might not answer, but he is right there.
Advice that I would give would be treat the person like everyone else. Don't think that the person's invisible just because they don't talk. Don't put pressure on them to talk. And if they want to discuss their selective mutism with them, be open about everything. Be honest.
Overcoming selective mutism can be a long process, but each small step taken is a huge achievement for your child. Let's remove the stress of speech from our children and focus on communication and reducing anxiety levels.
I would like people to be more aware of selective mutism so that they know that my child isn't being rude or shy, but that she has a genuine fear of speaking and a fear of people hearing her voice.
I wanted the world to know that selective mutism or children with selective mutism do not choose not to speak. They are just scared of talking.
I want the world to know that people don't choose to have selective mutism, that they're not being rude, that at times it must be such a hard thing for them to have to endure. But there is help out there, and the more that people are aware of selective mutism, then hopefully we can raise awareness and people will be more knowledgeable about the condition.
This disorder is very painful and stressful to the child, but with early intervention, they can overcome this. That's why awareness is so important. Help us spread the awareness and break the silence. My daughter is very creative and loves making things. She's funny and is a very caring person. Selective mutism is not a choice. These children do not select who they can and can't talk to.
My son is unique. He is so funny, he's so chatty, he's so creative. And I would like the world to know more about selective mutism.
My daughter is unique. She's a caring, beautiful daughter, and I've said to her that her selective mutism is just part of who she is, and we love her for that. Looking back, it makes me realise how hard it must have been for her, and still is hard. So she really is our oak. I'm incredibly proud of her progress and what she is becoming. She's making little steps, and that she does see herself in the future talking to people.
My daughter's amazing. She's resilient and brave, and together we will overcome our fears.
My daughter is amazing. She's kind, she's loving, she's outgoing, she's full of fun, and I couldn't be any more proud of her. And I would just like people to remember that selective mutism is only a symptom. It's not a choice.